Right, Ross. Next, we have a distillery that we've both always been fond of.
Yeah.
I feel like the days of calling it a new distillery are perhaps numbered, because there's been a lot of distilleries that have launched since then, but they are newish.
So if it's 20% of the distillery started in the last 10 years.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It can't really, yeah, you're right. It's now an established distillery. Nc'nean,
Yep.
which I've had in the channel before. We've done a really interesting red wine STR
Stunning.
single
We
cask.
weren't really sure what to expect with that one, but it...
Well, since then, I've been way more into it. And I do remember originally seeing the Huntress, which is a kind of release they do once a year when they change the distillation.
Okay.
And it had a highball recipe on the back of it. And I thought, okay, that's really modern, forward thinking,
Yeah.
working in a bar at a time. But really cool to try something different from them. We've got the Quiet Rebels Amy today.
Yep. So this is a tribute to their, I think it's a head of sustainability.
Yeah.
Amy, and sustainability is a big thing for the distillery. They're very sort of eco-aware, very, very green, I suppose. I think their distillery might be carbon neutral, carbon negative or something. But yeah, the environment's always been a big part of what they do, which is fantastic.
And they do have a great looking bottle, but yeah, I'm sure it's all recycled glass, etc.
Yep.
It's one of those things that a lot of distilleries are trying to achieve. Nc'nean have done a really good job of being as green as possible.
But I think they've also done it in a way that's not a gimmick.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, here's a thing that we do for show. Like,
I think it's part of the brand,
it's
isn't
an
it?
integral part of their DNA. And I think the nice thing for me from the experience I've had with their whiskey is that it's tasty as well.
Yeah.
It's not, it's just well-made whiskey. You can tell it's been distilled very well. The cask use is smart as well.
Net zero carbon emissions. Also, it's a lot of effort that it takes to actually get to that point.
Yeah, I feel like they've not made life easy for themselves.
No, they made it much harder.
Because their distillery is middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, we've looked at visiting a few times and it's like, well, we sort of need to
It's going to be an overnighter.
combine it with something else. Yeah. So, yeah, we'd love to visit at some point. But
This expression here, like most of their expressions, really good bottling strength, 48.5%.
Yep.
And also using slightly different... I don't think I've ever had this cask type before.
Okay.
And I'm going to mispronounce it, but I think it's Maury-ish.
Okay.
It's a French vineyard that produces a fortified wine that is similar in character to port.
Okay.
So obviously port can only be from Portugal, can only be from Porto, but we've had lots of port cask whiskies.
Yeah.
It's another European oak. We've used French oak before as well. Be really interesting to see how this affects this whiskey and this character.
Sure. Port generally gives it a bit of sweetness, maybe a touch of spice, but not too much. So,
and Nc'nean's character is generally quite light and approachable. Highland, but coastal, but no peat.
but also not too delicate either, which I've always enjoyed. It's always got a nice depth to it. It's got a nice texture, nice mouthfeel. I think this could be great.
I'm trying to work out how to open it right now. Looking at, I've got it here. It looks fantastic. And I think I'm in anticipation because of last time we had it on the channel. It was so good.
It was very, very good. I feel like the company, the brand have done very well in quite challenging business environment the last few years. It's now available in the US. It's available in Waitrose as well in the UK, which was a massive effort to get it up there. So they're doing very, very well. I think it's a very likable brand.
Yeah. Hard to pronounce for most. What do you think of the kind of stained glass? Do you like it, or do you want to see the whiskey?
I quite like it.
Yeah.
I think the colour shouldn't be... I think if adding caramel colouring was outlawed,
True.
I'd want to see the colour.
Yeah.
But since it's allowed, colour, unless you know if it's colour or not, you don't really know.
And this is naturally coloured, non-chill filtered. Again, 48.5%, so a really good drinking strength. Nice colour to it. We don't know the age of this one here. What do you think about the nose?
Pleasant. I would say I'm glad it's at this strength. You can tell it's got a complexity to it.
It's sweet. Again, I wouldn't have guessed fortified wine necessarily, but there is a sweetness.
Yeah, I think you can tell there's the influence from the French port, the Maury, that we were talking about before. It has got a bit of substance to it, a bit of depth to it.
I thought it would be maybe a little sweeter on the nose from...
Yeah, I always think
up on
of port matured whiskies as almost having like a pinkish, reddish hue to it.
Which I was almost expecting, but that's okay. It's, again, maybe they're looking for their character to shine through, not so much that unusual cask. Smells good. Let's have a wee taste.
Sure.
And it is fun trying a new whiskey we've never had before. They've done a series of these Quiet Rebels. Amy, Gordon, and there's another.
Annabelle.
Annabelle, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. So, and maybe we'll see that continue.
Yeah, that's a lovely dram, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's got a similar mouthfeel that you get with like a peated whiskey. And it's kind of on the palate, you swallow it, and it kind of stays with you in a nice way. It doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
But it's pleasant and it sort of dissipates quite slowly.
I like the
quite
palate.
enjoy that.
It's kind of red berries. It is definitely sweet and approachable. And there is influence from this fortified wine that I didn't find on the nose.
Yep.
Certainly there on the palate. And I think you're spot on with the texture. The texture is such a satisfying thing.
Yeah.
Because
they've done a few bottlings at, was it 48.5? So
the Huntress is 48.5.
I almost feel like they've worked that out. That is our sweet spot. In the same way as you get with, like Deanston and Bunnahabhain, they're like, 46.3?
Yeah, Talisker have always done 45.8.
Yeah, that's their, like, this is our strength. This is what works well for us. And it's lovely. It's not too strong at 48.
I don't feel the need to add any water.
No, and it also doesn't feel spirity. It doesn't feel harsh. It's not that thing of you taste it like, oh, another 4 or 5 years, that'll be great.
I'm really excited to see where the distillery goes. Because this is the second one I've had on the channel, and it's the second one I really have enjoyed.
Yeah.
And also using cask types that I've never had before.
Yeah.
Obviously I like that, but it's conversation whiskey. The whole thing about the brand, the ethos of the brand, and a release like this creates conversation. But the fact that it's actually backed up by good whiskey, it's quite a nice difference.
I think fly under the radar quite a bit actually in Nc'nean. It's a great dram. Like if we were out at,
it's a small distillery, I guess.
If we were at the Pot Still or one of these big whiskey bars, and you say, "Oh, pick me something good." If I picked you this, you would never guess at Nc'nean. For whatever reason, it's not a distillery that springs to mind as they've got a really distinctive style.
Yeah,
but everything
I guess it's
very, very tasty.
I would agree. We are starting to see a consistent style from them, but it's just still not a big brand.
Yeah,
that's okay. I don't mind not everybody knowing about it yet.
Yeah,
because it's working okay for us.
It's also something that you're maybe not. Obviously, all the distilleries in the world. It's probably not going to be something you're drawn towards. But imagine if this was like a Macallan or a Bowmore or a Springbank that tasted that good. It would sell out in minutes.
Yeah.
The price would be double, triple what this is.
Well, the good thing about it is also it isn't crazy expensive. For a limited release whiskey, they're all under £100, all the ones that have done about 80 quid. But a really approachable dram, something different. And so far, they've still got me on side.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Bevvy content. We want to hear what you think, your best whiskey experiences, the whiskies you want to try. It's a really exciting journey we're on, so make sure to join us. Download the Bevvy app on Google Play and App Store to keep track of your whiskey journey, connect with your whiskey friends, keep track of your favourites, anything you could ever want to do with whiskey, all in one place. It's the definitive whiskey companion.